Today on Investigate TV Plus, a known cancer-causing material banned in dozens of countries is still used in the United States and may be in your home right now.
This is a result of bad policy and allowing industry to use a carcinogen for over 100 years.
We examine a recent federal ban on asbestos and explain why some say it doesn't go far enough.
They could save more lives with the stroke of their pen than I can with my knife.
Then we take an in-depth look at the deadly diagnosis that can come from asbestos exposure and explain why everyday heroes are most at risk.
Plus, men and women looking for love online left with broken hearts and empty wallets. We delve into a new digital threat and reveal the red flags that a romantic interest is a heartbreak in disguise.
And tackling gender stereotypes.
I think that a lot of us are those role models for those little girls.
Meet the women inspiring the next generation on the gridiron. In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
Chances are you've heard of asbestos and how toxic it is, but what you might not realize, the deadly carcinogen is still being used in this country. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Efforts are underway to stop that, but first, let's talk about what asbestos actually is. The naturally occurring fiber had been widely used in products like roofing materials, automotive parts, and the production of industrial chlorine for more than a century.
It was really used in a lot of different things because it was good at what it did in the sense of it with high tensile strength, resistance to heat, being a naturally occurring, basically a rock. Occurring naturally in the earth.
It's for these reasons asbestos was once deemed a magic mineral, but that all changed in the 60s when researchers linked environmental exposure to severe health complications, including several different cancers. Even so, asbestos continued to be imported and used.
We have alternatives for asbestos. We know asbestos kills. Banning asbestos is the right thing to do.
And now the U.S. joins more than 60 countries doing just that.
The move is considered a win by many, but opponents argue asbestos plays an integral role in keeping America's water clean.
Reporter Heather Graff takes a look at the latest changes and its potential impacts.
He started to present with this persistent cough, which was just out of the norm.
Linda and Alan Reinstein had been married for more than 20 years when Alan was diagnosed with an aggressive cancer.
It was devastating. I was fearful. I looked at my daughter and thought, we're an honest family. How can this happen?
Alan had mesothelioma, a disease caused by asbestos exposure. Linda can't pinpoint exactly when he got it, but Alan could have had multiple encounters with asbestos during his time as an engineer and while doing home repairs.
This is a result of bad policy and allowing industry to use a carcinogen for over 100 years.
After a grueling 3-year battle with mesothelioma, Alan died in 2006.
I became a single mother and a widow in a millisecond.
And their family story isn't unique. According to the American Public Health Association, about 40,000 Americans die every year from asbestos-related cancers and respiratory disease.
Unfortunately, we see mesothelioma almost every day.
Dr. Raja Flores is a thoracic surgeon at New York's Mount Sinai Medical Center and a leading expert on the disease. He says inhaling asbestos fibers, even in small amounts, can cause irreversible scarring of the lungs.
Mesothelioma is a completely preventable disease. You get rid of asbestos, you get rid of mesothelioma.
And that is what the Environmental Protection Agency says it's working on.
This was a long 30-plus year effort to finally get to this point.
While there are technically 6 different kinds of asbestos, only one is still being used in the U.S. That's why the EPA says its ban, announced in March 2024, focuses on that single fiber type. It's called chrysotile, or white asbestos. and it was linked to unreasonable risks to human health by an agency evaluation in December 2020.
And we hope that this is a significant step to put this and make this a thing of the past in terms of asbestos disease.
The EPA's ruling prohibits the use, manufacture, and import of white asbestos. In 2022 alone, 300 metric tons were brought into the country and used to produce industrial chlorine and sodium hydroxide, a common ingredient in cleaners and soaps.
This ban is something that would save lives. Like I always say, they could save more lives with the stroke of their pen than I can with my knife.
But even with the stroke of that pen, the EPA's final rule gives some manufacturing facilities up to 12 years to phase out the use of white asbestos. The reason?
We wanted to have a phased approach to the ban to ensure that the production of chlorine was adequate to meet the demand.
You see, white asbestos is used by about a third of U.S. chlor-alkali plants to produce chlorine, the most commonly used chemical for water treatment. While an early draft of the ban included a 2-year phase-out for most commercial uses, the EPA dialed that back following pushback from the chlorine industry.
The agency was very focused on that, making sure that drinking water and disinfecting drinking water would not be affected by this rule.
Fair to say that's a concern you guys heard a lot during the
Yes.
process.
Yes.
The American Chemistry Council, for example, said a 2-year phase-out would cause substantial harm to America's drinking water supply. The group, which represents the chlorine industry, declined to speak on camera, but called the extended timeline positive change.
You don't think it goes far enough?
I know it doesn't go far enough.
Linda says she won't stop fighting until the U.S. enacts a ban on all 6 types of asbestos.
What would an ideal ruling look like?
It looks like the Alan Reinstein Ban Asbestos Now Act. All fibers, all uses. When a piece of legislation comes out of Congress and is signed into law, we don't ask the EPA to do another risk evaluation and risk management. It goes straight to prohibition, and you can wipe your hands, you're done.
The proposed law, named after Linda's husband, is co-sponsored by Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici.
Our bill is broader, and it would be legislation, not a rule. So it's important that we get this into law because it really is about saving lives.
We're one of hundreds of thousands of families impacted by deadly asbestos exposure.
Today, Linda continues to advocate for stricter regulations through her nonprofit, the Asbestos Disease Awareness Organization. For Alan,
Towards the end, he said, it's too late for me, but don't give up because I know you will make change happen.
and so many others like him.
It is a shared victory to have a comprehensive ban named after Alan. And damn it, we're going to get it done.
One group pushing for a full ban on asbestos represents some of America's bravest.
The International Association of Firefighters says responding to any fire could pose a risk.
It's the one cancer that we can tie to a particular chemical, asbestos, that we are exposed to.
Still ahead, we explain why and how exposure can lead to the deadly disease.
Plus, conned by a computer Casanova.
I found myself being very masterfully psychologically manipulated.
We uncover one of the newest and most deceptive schemes in a swindler's playbook, and a victim shares her story to protect you.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes.
Before the break, we took an in-depth look at asbestos, a natural material that's also a deadly carcinogen.
Experts say exposure has been linked to multiple forms of cancer, including mesothelioma, which the CDC says forms in the thin tissue that lines many internal organs, including the heart and lungs. Each year, the U.S. sees about 3,000 new cases.
There's a group of first responders at particular risk of developing this deadly disease: firefighters.
Reporter Heather Graff joins us now to explain why mesothelioma, a disease many experts call preventable, is an occupational hazard for some of America's bravest.
Lee and Tisha, research shows firefighters are twice as likely to develop the disease compared to the general population. At the International Association of Firefighters in Washington, D.C., we met with Chief of Field Services Pat Morrison, who explained the everyday risks for these heroes.
When we fight a fire, people, sometimes don't understand. When there is a fire, we show up. We have to put that fire out. And for us to put that fire out, we need to pull the ceiling down. If there was asbestos in this office here above that, we're pulling that down. We're actually pulling the asbestos right on top of us. If we have to pull the shingles, if we're cutting a hole in the roof to vent, if we're cutting siding on the side of the wall, we're exposed every step of the way.
Morrison says in the case firefighters come into contact with asbestos, their equipment undergoes decontamination before arriving back to the fire station.
We don't want to take that dirty gear that we have and bring it into the apparatus and bring it back to the firehouse, and in some cases bring it back to the house, because we transfer our gear sometimes from the firehouse to our homes in our trunks of our cars.
Because he says it's a matter of life and death, particularly when it comes to the risk for mesothelioma.
It's the one cancer that we can tie to a particular chemical, asbestos, that we are exposed to. So it's got a straight line all the way through. There's no denial about that exposure and how we get exposed to it.
Morrison says another challenge is the disease can be a silent killer given its long latency period, which the National Cancer Institute describes as the time it takes between exposure and the appearance of symptoms. According to the Mesothelioma Center, the disease can take between 20 to 60 years to show up, which means most people aren't diagnosed until their 60s and 70s.
If you don't hear of firefighters that are on your job dying of mesothelioma, sometimes you think, well, maybe it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to, I'm not going to get it.
What goes through your mind? What's on your heart every time you hear of another firefighter getting mesothelioma?
What goes through immediately is the shortness of life. We only have so much life, and it was robbed from those individuals.
Let's talk about what's being done today to rid our country of this toxic material. Heather, you told us about the EPA's plan to phase out white asbestos, the last form still used in our country. What was the IAFF's response?
Lee, the EPA called its ban a milestone, but Morrison says it doesn't go far enough, and he says Congress needs to act.
A milestone means we're getting closer. We're not there yet. Asbestos is bad. Keep it in the ground. Use something else that is safer, period.
He went on to say the International Association of Firefighters supports the Alan Reinstein Ban Asbestos Now Act. That's the bill named after the husband of Linda Reinstein, who we introduced you to earlier in the show. Over the last few years, the EPA has conducted 2 asbestos risk evaluations. According to the results, the agency concluded asbestos presents an unreasonable risk of injury to health.
So how do you know you have asbestos in your home? The EPA says the only way to be sure is to get it tested. It recommends testing only if the material is damaged or if you plan a renovation. We have resources and more information about this on our website, InvestigateTV.com. Just search asbestos.
Still ahead, they go from moms on the sideline,
mom of 7 who all play sports, real big with playing football,
to a pocket passer on the field. We introduce you to the women with a passion for the pigskin.
Plus, after connecting on a dating site, she felt something was wrong.
Where I trusted this person and I ended up losing close to $500,000.
We reveal the con, leaving some heartbroken and broke.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime, streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download. Jeannie Wasserman says a fake Facebook friend broke her bank and her heart.
That was my downfall right from the beginning, believing the first person that talked to me, that he loved me.
She thought she had fallen in love with a military officer stationed in the Middle East. And when he asked for money for a chopper ride out of Syria, she sent him $138,000 before she realized she'd been tricked with stolen photos.
I just broke down crying. I really let my family down.
About 1 in 4 people report they've been targeted by scammers while using an online dating site, and more than half of them admitted they got swindled.
As people get played online, we found artificial intelligence allows scammers to get more sophisticated.
Consumer investigator Carice Jackman explains how and speaks to a scam survivor whose storybook romance turned to horror.
I found myself being very masterfully psychologically manipulated to the point I made financial decisions where I trusted this person and I ended up losing close to $500,000.
Shreya, who asked us not to use her full name out of fear her scammer will find her and to protect her privacy, is speaking out in order to help others. She says this romance scammer pretended to be after her heart, when in reality, they were after her money.
What people don't understand that the scams are getting a lot more complex with two things going together, AI and cryptocurrency.
It's a tactic we've heard before. Scam artists now using deepfakes to earn people's trust, adding a new twist to romance scams. David Myman, who runs the evidence-based cybersecurity group at Georgia State University in Atlanta, has been closely monitoring how fraudsters are using AI to gain people's trust and commit fraud.
We see many actors, both local actors but also global actors, infiltrating dating apps, looking for profiles on Facebook, on Tinder, on other platforms they have access to, taking the images from those profiles, establishing fictitious profiles.
The FTC says the reported losses to romance scammers total $1.14 billion, with the median losses per person around $2,000, the highest reported losses from any form of imposter scam.
It's interesting because romance scams are underreported because a lot of times people are ashamed, they're embarrassed, they don't want to talk about it because it's so emotional.
Melanie McGovern with the Better Business Bureau says you shouldn't feel embarrassed. She says if someone online starts turning your romantic conversations into discussions over their hardship and need for money, it's a sign to delete the contact and move on. The BBB is also watching the emergence of AI as well.
Your voice could be cloned, your photo could be cloned, a video could be used.
Remember, never send money, crypto, gift cards, or wire transfers to someone you've never met in person. And if you're unsure of your online lover, do a reverse image search to see if the images are associated with another name. After what she experienced, Shreya says it took some time for her to heal. Now, she's using her experience as empowerment.
It became very important to me that I become part of the solution. What we can control is more people knowing about it. And this is where the media, advocacy efforts, just getting the word out there can be very impactful so that less people fall for it.
It's scary because, most people are kind and, they're looking to help people, and it's so easy for some to fall for things like this.
And you want to believe the good
in
people. And unfortunately, not all people have good intentions.
No, they don't.
Well, the FTC says always make sure you tell a trusted friend that you're talking to someone online. The agency says romance scammers often try to isolate people by insisting on their silence.
Still ahead, bringing out their inner child.
It's like I'm putting on a uniform for me as a kid. Like, I didn't get to play in middle school.
How these moms and career women are making time to tackle and break barriers.
The Cincinnati Sizzle, the NOLA Sabercats, and Gulf Coast Mystery. These are just some of the names of teams in the U.S. Premier Women's Football League.
In addition to tackle football, many of the women sporting these jerseys also juggle careers and kids.
Reporter Lauren Walsh introduces us to a few who found a passion for the pigskin.
Ready! Football is a way of life for the Tennessee Enforcers.
Set!
But life involves a whole lot more than first downs for these players.
My day job, I work in clinical research. I do a little bit of landscaping.
A mental health counselor.
I'm a security officer.
So I am actually a teacher. I teach exceptional education students.
Good, one more time.
And on the field,
I play running back.
I am the quarterback. 37 screeners is what we call it.
My main position is a lineman.
I'm a receiver.
Everything on the offensive line and defensive line.
And if you're wondering if there's any overlap between work and football,
Yeah, I definitely would say the critical thinking skills. Football is not a dumb jock sport like it sometimes is portrayed. It does take critical thinking. It does take breaking down defenses and understanding offenses.
As far as landscaping, I'm used to being in the grass, so that's good.
for these women, the grass is in fact greener, strapping up to play tackle football, a desire many of them have had for a long time.
Mom of 7 who all play sports, real big with playing football. So my youngest son, actually, I was the coach of his team, and then we found a team that had females on it, and my girls went, and so I've been playing ever since.
It's like I'm putting on a uniform for me as a kid. Like, I didn't get to play in middle school. I wanted to play. So coming here as an adult doing it, it's like, hey, it's gonna be girls like me when I was younger watching.
In their first year playing in a women's tackle football league, the Enforcers are already making headlines, bound for the championship game. But it doesn't come without sacrifice.
It's been a lot. It's been a lot, especially with me being a mother of 2 and having to come to practice nearly every practice with my 2.
It has been challenging coming straight from work. I live in Murfreesboro, going home, you know, getting things straight and coming straight to practice afterwards.
Hit! With every snap, throw, and catch, the Enforcers are tackling gender stereotypes and proving that football is for everyone.
We put our blood, sweat, and tears into this. We are the trendsetters. We are the groundbreakers for this game. I think that a lot of us are those role models for those little girls.
We're women, but we're nothing to play with.
A week later, the Tennessee Enforcers ended up winning their championship game against the Detroit Venom.
And that's it for us here on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching.
On the next Investigate TV Plus, unlocking home ownership in a challenging market.
Having someone to split that cost with has been amazing.
How a generation is rewriting the real estate rule book by investing with friends.
Literally, there just wasn't anyone else I thought of that I could trust.
Plus, the steps you should know before signing up to split cost.